What's happening, everyone? Bit of a controversial topic today. I think a lot of the fitness industry like to tell you that getting lean is going to solve all your problems. It's going to make you more confident and it is going to improve all areas of your life. And I'm here today to give you a little bit of perspective on what it's actually like to get lean, because I have been there a good few times. As you can see here, I have put up some of the physiques that I have managed to achieve on my own without a coach. And I wanted to talk about both the pros and the cons of getting in that kind of shape. Now, anyone who knows me knows that I absolutely love dieting. It's really, really weird. Some people like to call it orthorexia. I don't think it's that extreme, but I just really love the discipline required for dieting, because I feel like it makes all areas of your life better. So from a nutritional standpoint, we know that we're limited with calories, and therefore it always makes sense to bulk your meals up with a hell of a lot more veg, because you want to feel full. So therefore you're getting a little bit more in terms of micronutrients as well, which is obviously contrary to what I have said in the past, in that you generally will have a little bit less nutritional diversity when you're on a cut. It's actually the opposite for me. I always make sure that I have got a fair whack of diversity in there. And it really just makes me feel a hell of a lot better not having so much food in my stomach as I typically would in a gaining phase. Being lighter as well also meant that for me, particularly last year, my performance was a hell of a lot better, because at the time I was running long distance. I was doing half marathons, 10Ks, all that stuff all of the time. And the lighter I got, generally times improved. I did feel a hell of a lot more confident when I was leaner, and it's no surprise that that was also my busiest time in work. When I started to showcase that physique off a little bit, people almost started to respect my ability to coach a little bit more, even though it didn't really have an impact on the knowledge that I had. Like, I had that same knowledge before I started the cut, but when people see a physique that they almost aspire to, they naturally want a piece of that pie, which is natural, but I think it's a little bit wrong, and it just goes to show kind of that that's the merit that a lot of coaches are judged off. And I think sometimes that means you end up picking the wrong coach just because they are in good shape. And ultimately it meant for me that I was attracting some clients that I didn't necessarily want to attract, and I feel like I'm in a much better position with all of that now. So obviously there's that trifecta of work was improving, like my health was generally improving. I'll speak a little bit more about that in a minute. And I looked a hell of a lot better with me top off, which was obviously a really important thing for the summer. And I don't think there's anything wrong with dieting down purely just to look better. I think so many people out there hate on people who do it for vanity purposes, and I just think, why the fuck not? Like, we all want to look better. It's obviously a good thing if we do look better. Generally increases our chances of finding a partner, and generally does just make you feel that little bit better about yourself. But with that being said, the way I went about getting lean last time was to do it at all costs, and I think that generally led to a fair few downsides and ultimately some lessons for me going into my next cut. So the way I was doing it was training at every given opportunity, right? I was lifting weights sometimes twice a day. I would also be running like 3, 4, 5 times per week. Like, I was training up to 15 times a week at that point. And naturally I found it quite easy to lose weight, because I love that all or nothing mentality. And the more and more output that I could put out in terms of me training meant that I was going to be getting a better result and a faster result. And I did. I felt like that was the best that I have ever looked ever. And so it did work for me. But on the flip side, what a lot of people don't tell you about getting lean is that you generally just look like you don't even lift weights when you got a t-shirt on. And we spend 95% of our time with our tops on. The only people who see us with it off are our partners or anyone on holiday. And I actually found that to be quite a struggle. I felt like almost I couldn't really fill the sleeves out of my t-shirts anymore. Like, that side of things was very, very difficult for me. And I think that's the psychological element of cutting and bulking. Like, when we bulk, we look great in a t-shirt, but not as great with our top off, and vice versa for when we're in a cut as well. The other thing for me was, because I was hammering everything into the ground and I was eating lower calories, generally I was in a pretty poor position to perform well in work. And it was a bit of a double-edged sword because yes, I was getting more clients and I was the busiest I'd ever been because of my physique, but also because of that same physique, I didn't have the energy to actually be efficient and work properly. And that meant I was working 6 to 7 days a week. I was running myself into the ground with that. And generally, I didn't feel that good. It was quite a struggle for me to get down to the weight that I got to. So I started off at like 76 kilo and I ended up getting down to 64, which is really, really light. There's also the mental aspect of knowing that I was the same weight as my fiance, which for a man, generally, you don't really want to be that. There's anything wrong with it. Just there's a little bit of like a psychological kind of thing where you're just like, I'm picking her up, and like she could probably pick me up at the minute. I don't want her to be able to pick me up. So yeah, there's plenty of downsides. Would I say that it ruined my life? No, I would say that it made life a lot more difficult, and it did teach me a lot of things. And at the minute, I have just finished a very aggressive mini cut, which is in stark contrast to what I did last time to get as lean as the pictures I've shown you before. I actually spent like 4 to 6 months getting that lean last time, and honestly the dietary fatigue was so intense. Like I do love dieting, but I did really get sick of the restriction after a while, and I think that's because I tried to use such a small 400 to 500 calorie deficit. For me, that got very boring, very fast. And it meant that ultimately when I did finish that dieting phase, there was a little bit of a rebound. And within a couple of months after getting back from Glastonbury, I had put a fair bit of fluff straight back on. And I think that's purely down to the fact that I didn't manage it the way that I should have managed it. And now with this mini cut, I started at 80.5 kg and I finished it a couple of days ago at 72.5 kg. It took me 6 weeks to lose 8 kilo. The strategy for me now is to bump my calories up from 1450 to 1800, which has already started to relieve a little bit of that dietary pressure, knowing that I've got a little bit more flexibility. But it's meant that I haven't went straight back up to maintenance. What I'm actually trying to do is go from 1,000 calorie daily deficit to like a 500 to 600 daily deficit. Because for me, it's helping me feel like I can get a little bit more food in, but also I'm still losing weight because I do still feel like I would like to get close to the levels I got to last time and possibly even exceed that. What weight I will end up when I am at that same level of leanness, I do not know. Hopefully it's a few more kilo after spending 6 months of bulking. But it taught me a lot of things, and it taught me that the way to go for me is to hit it hard and fast and then to gradually reverse yourself out of it and actually start to increase the calories on the other end. And that's an approach I've took with a lot of my clients who really love that approach. Now, in my opinion, I feel like everyone should do a really hard dieting phase at some point in their life because it does help you learn a lot about yourself. It really does help build resilience and discipline. I just think it's really good to be able to see your true potential and see how lean you can get. And really see what it's like when you take yourself into the dark waters of a cut, when you haven't got as much energy, where you're not feeling great all of the time, and you've got that constant voice in your head trying to put you back in the comfort zone. And for me, resisting that built a lot of fucking character for me, and it's carried over massively even into training. Like, it's just always there in the back of my head. I always know when something gets tough, when I'm boxing, when I'm doing Muay Thai, when I'm lifting weights. I just always think back to that time and I'm like, this is fucking nothing. Like, I can absolutely push through that. I endured that for a good few months. I can endure this set for the next 30 seconds. So there's definitely that carryover in terms of your mindset. But yeah, getting lean, I would say if you're going to do it, you've got to do it for you. I would say you've got to look at the reasons that you are doing it, because I have honestly took a lot of clients through dieting phases and I've asked them if it's what they really want, and they're like, yeah. And then you get 8 to 12 weeks in, you start struggling and they're like, actually, it doesn't really matter to me that much to get lean. And I'm like, right, this is why you really need to think about what is important to you. Like, are you willing to make them sacrifices that, of the things that you really love to do, that you love to eat, of maybe the ice cream with your family and things like that you're going to be having? Are you prepared to sacrifice that for the next couple of months to get in this position? For me, it was worth it. But for a lot of them, they realised it wasn't, and that's why it really helps to know yourself, understand yourself, and have a strong level of introspection about what drives you and what is important to you. for me as a coach, it was important to prove to my clients that I could do exactly what I was taking them through, and that's why I will regularly trim myself down and just get back in the trenches with them, because I just think it's the admirable thing to do, to lead from the front and to show that, you know, anything I'm asking you to do, I will do to a much greater extreme and get with you. So yeah, that's pretty much it for today. Summary is, you want to get lean, go for it. If it's not really important to you, don't bother.